you want to grab it? Yeah. It's like in school, right? Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining the first Last Mile Delivery Meetup here at the Better Space from Better Mile. Truly, last mile delivery is an industry in motion. I remember joining the industry 5 years ago, and when I had my onboarding and talked to some industry professionals, they said, look, for us, it's all about quality. I said, all right, what's quality? That's pretty wide. And they said, it's runtime, and your parcel has to arrive undamaged, right? That was it. It was an industry that was very much driven from the shippers and from the shipping customers, but the consignee was pretty much left out of the business. And just within the recent years, there was another dimension added to this. Click, please. It is the user experience. So just a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years ago, people started to talk about user experience. They added a new dimension to the business. And then the established parcel company said, well, user experience usually comes at a cost and at a loss of performance. And it's pretty clear that's the tension field, right? So the tension field between user experience and productivity. And today, the digital tool set makes the difference how to position yourself in this tension field. So welcome to the Last Mile Delivery Meetup. Our topic, how to build a parcel service as a tech product that also not just creates productivity, but also some love feelings with the consignees. Click, please. So at Better Mile, we are proud to work in this field. We help delivery organizations with address normalization and geocoding, so the very core and basics to create a user experience for the driver and the consignee. We provide a sequence optimization and navigation tool for delivery drivers where they can input their know-how and it gets respected. And we created an AI-powered tracking solution that creates really accurate delivery estimates with the use of machine learning. But I don't want to promote our tools. It's not about Better Mile today, not only about Better Mile today. It's more about our customers. Our customers range on both fields. We have established parcel delivery companies as well as startups. And as you know, when you sell a software as a service in the B2B business, the sales cycles are pretty long. So it's not just sign up with a credit card and go. We have an established consulting relationship to our customers, so we deeply learn about the problems and the challenges that they have. And make a guess, the challenges of the established delivery companies and the newer ones are pretty much the same. They just come from a different angle. The ones come from the user experience side and want to say, yeah, we want to do everything differently. And then they come across, OK, but productivity we also have to take care of, kind of, especially in this VC environment that we're now facing. And then the established companies, they come more from, we're the operational pros, we have the high productivity, but we also need to do some user experience. So the challenge is the same. They just come from a different angle. And click, please. And that's what we're trying to solve and consult our customers with every day. We at BetterMile felt that we need to build a bridge, and we want you guys to start talking to each other, because the challenges are the same, and we don't want to be in the middle at every time, right? And that's why we came up with the idea to create this small meetup, and we thought it would be good for a regular exchange. We saw the need for this exchange, but honestly, I didn't know that the need was so big, right? So today we have 600 participants that just signed up within the last 2 weeks. I don't know where they come from. I mean, I know where they come from, but isn't that amazing? Almost 100 people we have here on site. The others join us remotely from all over Europe and from North America. We have more than 300 organizations, delivery organizations, startups, as well as established companies, but also tech companies that found our way to us. And we reach out to more than 30 countries today. That's amazing. Thanks everyone for being here. Just to give you a little overview here, we have today with us, remotely and on-site, the big ones. For some reason, DHL skipped out. I can't tell you why. I approached them several times. They just didn't want to come. Or they have solved all their challenges. I don't know. But the rest we have. But also more regional-oriented players from Eastern Europe, especially joined us today, like Vanipack, like InPost. So it's also very regional players like Berlin Last Mile. So it's really great to see. At the same time, we call them the rising stars. The Urbify is here in the first row. We have the Drops, the Glocalies, the Parks, Tousfacteur today, Benjamin is a speaker, the Budbees and the Instaboxes of this world. So amazing to have you guys here. Very heartily welcome. And we also, and that's pretty interesting, a trend that we've seen over the last couple of years already, we have e-commerce players who also, whether want to become a delivery company or see the need that delivery is part of their holistic user experience, and they want to get more in control of it and not just be dependent from the delivery companies. So it's pretty amazing to see. And next to BetterMile, there are also other players. I call them beyond last mile platforms, technology, like Parcel Perform, TomTom, Cardinal. We even have Eva drones with us. It's amazing to have you guys all here, and very heartily welcome from the whole BetterMile team. So one thing, before I come to introduce the speakers, I'm especially proud of is that when I go through the participants list, it's not just the managers. It's not just the top management that on a high level might discuss or network here. Yes, we have them too, but we also have the guys from operations. We also have the depot managers with us. We also have the software engineers with us, the user interface designers, the product owners, and what all is necessary in this business. And I think you all agree when I say one core thing is to be cross-functional in this business. If you just think the operations, if you just think the software, then you will not be successful. You have to truly be cross-functional, and that's what we were able to realize at this night. So really proud of this. So now let's come to our speakers. Can you go one slide back, please? Let's now come for today's topic. Today's topic is not a fancy one. We're not talking about big data or machine learning or something that's happening in a magical box. It's pretty hands-on, but it's probably the most decisive in this business. We want to explore strategies and technology to get in control of the operations. And the operations, the decisive thing, whether you make the user experience a blast or you make the cost explode. And that's, by the way, what we also see out there in the market, to be honest, that some players just didn't take care enough of the cost and enough of the productivity and maybe even a little bit too much of the user experience, question mark. That will be a topic for today. So operations control. And I'm super glad that I have three guests and speakers. We have Benedikt, CEO and founder of Urbify, actually in the same building, just on there, so they didn't have to travel along. One of the rising stars in Germany for premium delivery. Benedikt will tell us today about how to enable operations to reach a 99% delivery quota with a proprietary technology. Ben, we're really glad to have you here. Give him a hand. So Ben will start out a second. I'll just introduce the other speakers as well. No, bear with me. It's okay, it's okay. We cordially really like to have you here from Paris, flying in today, Benjamin.
Don't make it so embarrassing for me to stand here by myself.
Benjamin is CEO of Tousfacteur, the French startup. And I mean, you deliver in Paris. You know what chaos is. You know what jungle is. Do you even deliver with motorbikes also? No, with bikes.
Don't start with the jokes.
So it's probably, and that's not a joke, it's probably one of the most complex delivery areas you will find in Europe. Without technology, you would be lost. And you will present a technology today where you find out about the claims even before or right after the delivery happened, and you're able to solve it in real time. So that's really exciting how you guys do it. Thanks for coming over, and glad to have you here. Give them a hand. And then we have Tim with us. Welcome, Tim. Tim is Director of Depot Processes and Ops Digitalization at GLS, so one of the more established players and international players in this game. So it's a very important perspective coming from that side of things. And he will let us know how to steer thousands of delivery drivers and hundreds or even thousands of subcontractors and delivery partners in this business. And that's for sure a challenge of itself. Really proud to have you here. Thanks for coming, Tim. So we have 20 minutes per speaker. You give us an intro and invaluable insights. After each presentation, we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A. For you guys who are on site, we'll have a microphone to pass around. Please just afterwards raise your hand and we'll pass it on to you. For those joining remotely, you can use the chat function in the live stream. It will pop up here on my tablet, and we'll be able to pick some of those questions for you. After the 3 speakers and the 3 Q&As, we'll have a short summary and try to draft a summary, the 4 of us, about this topic. And afterwards, at least for those who are on site, we'll have a network session with some drinks and some snacks. So thanks everyone for being here. I'm really looking forward to discuss this topic with you tonight. That's awesome. And now, Ben, the stage is yours. Now it is.
Danke dir. So great Really excited to be here, really excited to have the crowd here. As we already said, or Simon mentioned, we'll be talking about enabling sustainable premium delivery with a proprietary end-to-end software solution. And this is pretty much how we do things as we go through. I also have to check. There we go. So just at a glance of what we're doing. So we're, let's say, Germany's leading tech-driven provider for urban premium deliveries, ready to scale across Europe. We have a couple of KPIs here, but I think it's more interesting for me to talk a little bit about what we do and what makes us premium. So there's two things, and one part is more important today. On the one hand side, we are focusing on stuff that's not necessarily parcel logistics, so we are very strong in grocery delivery. That's a big topic that we're covering, not the topic of today. On the other hand, we are strong in the parcel delivery business. This is, let's say, the core that we're focusing on today, and most of the stuff that you see on the slides is also related to the parcel delivery. When we talk about premium delivery, what does that really mean? Essentially, there's a couple of points that play a major role here. So for one, of course, the customer experience is central. So we're really looking at short run times. It's something that Simon already mentioned. So we're looking at only same day and next day delivery. So anything in the standard business is something that we do not do. Anything that's quick is with us, and we're the right player for that. What does that mean? So we're looking at late cutoff times. That means late cutoffs at as late as midnight. So you can actually order online until midnight and you get it delivered the next day in all German metropolitan areas by us. The next thing is we actually deliver when the customers are at home. What does that mean? Especially for e-com. If you try to deliver during the day, people are usually not at home. And that's why our delivery window for the e-com customers of ours is actually in the evening hours. So we're looking at 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., sometimes even 10 p.m. Next thing is, of course, tracking, right? So you want good communication with the customer, really important. So email notifications, SMS notification, real-time tracking of the driver, as well as, okay, if there's an issue, I actually want to reach out to someone and get that problem solved. What does that mean? I'm not sure how many people here in this room have tried to contact the hotlines of some of the established players. It usually takes some time to get some info about the delivery. And therefore, for us, it's a little different. We have our operational control center and the whole staff based here in Berlin. You can reach out by phone, and they usually see everything in the software interfaces, can get pragmatic solutions, can directly reach out to the drivers, and really find the solutions that's necessary for whatever circumstance there could be. So that's really another key aspect of what we do. And the last one, and that's something that was already mentioned by Simon as well, we know it from established players where we usually talk about delivery attempts, which is nice. But for us, it's a different ballgame. We actually promise delivery success on the first delivery attempt beyond 99% on first delivery attempt across Germany. And that's something, we're not just saying that, but that's actually something that we also put into the SLAs with our customers. So that's completely different ballgame here. Again, where can you get our services? We're right now covering a little more than 50 cities, 80 million inhabitants, roughly 50% of e-commerce, purchasing power is close to 1,000 zip codes, deliveries, and our HQ, as Simon also already said, we're neighbors, we're living right over there, working. And our tech hub is actually based out of Zagreb, so we have a 100% daughter company where our tech personnel is based, and yeah, that's essentially the key for us to do the whole building of the technology that we have in-house, especially if you have some bugs or anything that you want to improve. The connection, and that's exactly what Simon says, and that's also where we come from, is the combination of technology and operations. One can't live without the other, and that's why we believe that our technology is on the right track in order to provide this service at scale, because we are so closely connected to the operations and combining software and operations. So, that's one too far. When we talk about last mile, I already mentioned it, that we also in the space of grocery delivery, it's really not the same, right? Everyone talks about last mile, everyone talks about same day, next day, but the devil's in the details. And what we do is we pretty much have the value chain all covered, but we are using a modular approach in order to get there and really provide the service that our customers need. And depending on who we work with, we have a different depth of value chain. On the x-axis, you can pretty much see the whole process, essentially from the warehouse through our central hub, through the line haul network, to the local hubs, delivery, return to sender, the whole performance tracking, plus the customer services, everything that we provide. It really depends on the use case, on how deep we go concerning the value chain, but also on the y-axis you can see we can provide the software as a standalone, but we can also combine it with the operational and infrastructural aspects that you require, really depending on whatever the customer needs. And at the heart of this, and this is, let's say, the topic of today's conversation here, is the operating system that we use. So essentially everything that we do, everything that we work with, and that's enabling us to provide the service that we have, is using our proprietary technology. This is just a glance on how it looks, but I will jump into the different components and how you can really make this delivery success of 99% work. So first of all, of course, we have different kinds of warehouse setups, right? You have central hubs or injection hubs. You have local hubs, different functionalities that you will have there. Of course, we have a scanning, labeling, and sorting solution. What's really relevant here, in order to make processes as smooth as possible, is that you have a proper integration with the retailer. So for instance, it's just one aspect. When we get a retailer label for our injection hub, we already have the abbreviation of our local hub destination on the label. So that means we do not need to relabel the parcel in order to do the sorting, but we just do the intaking scan, directly sort it to the local hub destination, and we can get on with it. It's not just quicker, but it's also resourceful in terms of paper and in terms of other stuff. We have the parcel overview per warehouse, so we can pretty much track everything. Where are the parcels, you know? I mean, in a perfect world, of course, you would receive all the parcels that you got manifested. Usually not the case, so that's something where we can really do troubleshooting, be quick, and see, okay, what's there, what's not, right? And then the last part is the whole topic of address correction. I think with everyone in this room, I don't have to explain that topic because it's a tedious task. Maybe there's a solution. I don't see Simon anymore in terms of address fixing, but that's something that we will explore on another day. Yeah, exactly. Coming then to another component of our technology, which is the driver app. And I think this is really important, and this is also where our experience comes in. I was already in conversation with Tim before. We actually started out at the beginning with a partner management solution. So we tried to improve the collaboration between a principal and a contractor in order to smoothen things and really make transparent the quality and the performance that you would have managing a subcontractor. And this is something where we came into play, and this is still something that we're benefiting from today. For instance, when we do the first part is the truck loading and scanning, right? So you really do see the order of parcels in which you should scan and load the vehicle in order to make it easier, then also to have the first one or the last customer in the back of the vehicle, the first customer in the front of the vehicle. But that's just not all of it, right? So one thing, pretty much all of you have experience with this, if you want to do proper on-time deliveries, right, you have to be on time at the beginning. You can do the best route optimization in the world. If the driver is not there to start the tour, you're not getting anywhere. And that's why we also focus on how on time the drivers actually are at the warehouse. So this is a principle we use. We put a geofence around the warehouse where it's actually starting the tour. The driver has to be in the warehouse with his device ready to work, so he's checking in. He can only do that once he's in the perimeter of the warehouse. So we have that checked. Then the next thing is, okay, how long does the loading process take? So it doesn't really help you if the driver is in the warehouse, but then maybe, I don't know, talks to the friends, goes to the loo and does stuff like that. So we're checking, okay, when does the loading start? And then the last part is also, when does the driver leave the proximity of the warehouse? So that's the next thing. And then once the first customer is also delivered on time, there's actually in the data not many anomalies where you could see that the delivery success is not being reached, unless, of course, cars breaking down and these kind of things. There's another aspect that's really relevant from the data that we have taken, which is essentially the experience of the driver. So driver doing the first time a tour compared to the driver who's doing his 20th is, of course, a difference. So then we have the delivery overview. Can't see it on the screen right here, but essentially looks like a lot of different apps as well. In-app navigation, we currently use a Mapbox SDK to do that. I think what's important here is that you do not jump too much around from one app to another. Always very difficult with the interfaces, and therefore We chose to do the Mapbox SDK with the in-app navigation. Proof of delivery, I think these are the things that are really relevant in terms of how you do things. We can also take inspiration, and that's what we do also. We don't develop everything ourselves or think of everything ourselves. So, Amazon, also HelloFresh was an inspiration for us on how they do things in terms of proof of delivery. And these are things that we can do here. Plus, delay management. So if there's a delay, the driver can communicate these things proactively. Plus, of course, there's a mobile number of the customer integrated or put into the app with every single order, so the driver can reach out to the customer in case there's any challenges with the delivery. So this is pretty much, I would say, standard or state of the art in terms of delivery, but I think we already took some tweaks in order to, accompany the whole thing with the operations and really make the whole topic a success. Yeah, I mean, route optimization is critical, right? That's the whole topic of productivity. I think there's a breaking point of, I would call it, essentially you're increasing the productivity, you're reducing the customer experience, really depending on what you want to get out, right? So if you make the service times longer, you can make them extremely long and you will always hit the time target. But on the other hand, you lose productivity. So that's something that we have in here. We have a lot of experience. Also, the data collected is being reused in order to adjust some of the variables that we're using for our routing. I'll be very open and frank. We are not using our own route optimization engine yet, so we have a third party to do that. But essentially for the scale we're at right now, it's working pretty well. Again, Better Mile could be a solution here as well. Next topic here. And of course, the whole topic of rescue tour creation. I think this is important for us because the service level that we are providing is just not comparable to a lot of other players in the market space. And that's why you need to have the possibility to do rescues and also do a visual route analysis because, I mean, machines are great, but I think if you can do a couple of adjustments, I think it's also helpful in the process. Yeah, this is another important thing. What we also learned and took from the partner management that I was mentioning at the very beginning. So the first thing is, of course, you need to have a calculation of how good the performance of individual drivers or let's say individual partners is, because in the end you want to create that performance, you want to create that quality topic, right? And for that you kind of need to track what the performance really is, and that means what is the delivery success rate on first attempt? So these kinds of things need to be taken into account for transport partners, but also for the individual drivers to get immediate feedback. So for us, it's very different. As soon as you complete your tour, driver says, okay, I finished my tour, gets an immediate feedback, okay, how did I perform on my tour? There's a couple of aspects going into this. For example, did you start your shift on time? Did you load your vehicle on time? Did you leave the warehouse on time? Did you hit the first customer on time? And did you complete the delivery success as planned? If all these are here, then it gets 100%. You also have a little explanation on how this score comes together. And of course, every driver has a little profile where he or she can identify, okay, how's my performance been in the past, my historic performance, and do that. And what we're experimenting with right now, and that's essentially the thing that's enabling us, at least that's our expectation, to scale this also across a bigger area, is by saying, okay, we will introduce a driver incentive system. It's not an easy topic, a couple of legal topics in this, some tax issues in this, but essentially we already have the baseline in terms to determine, let's say, the points that one would get for a particular performance level. And essentially using that, it's just these legal and tax issues that we need to solve in order to provide something here that's of help for us to ensure that we can also sustain the quality at scale. Internally, we call it the blue collar miles and more, right? So you get some points and then you can redeem them for some vouchers or for some presents. And that's essentially the path we're taking here. And I think this is, to some extent, it's revolutionary, because we can not only include the performance of the driver on the tour for the delivery performance, but we're also taking a look into how the driver is, for instance, treating the vehicle, which is also something that for a lot of our partners is a very relevant topic, because it doesn't really help you if the driver is on time, but the vehicle has like a lifetime of a year. Probably doesn't work. Yeah, track and trace, I think that's something I would say probably the usual parts in terms of notifications. So you receive a notification once the parcel is taken in at our warehouse. You receive another notification in a 1 hour time window when you can expect your delivery to be there. And as soon as the driver is picking up your delivery at the warehouse and makes its way to the customers or the consignees, there's an SMS notification. In terms of any circumstances here, there will also be a proactive communication. A white label tracking and tracking page. So essentially, you have some retailers that are interested in having their own personalized tracking page, but also notifications and these kind of things. That's something that we can offer. But also the whole topic of issue ticketing, but also support, I think is really, really essential, because in the end, you will not get to the delivery success rate that I just mentioned at the beginning if you don't have someone to reach out to in particular circumstances if there's any issues, and then you need to solve it immediately, right? Right now, we're doing that with a lot of manpower and women power, so that's kind of the thing we're going with. Essentially, you can certainly improve there and use technology in order to make that better in the future as well. But I think for us, it's really important if you reach out to someone. I think we all know it. No one wants to wait in a hotline. Everyone wants to get the issue solved as quickly as possible, and that's why we're using this path before we can automate and improve things here. And this is essentially the last part of it, and I think this is again stemming from our origin in partner management, is how we pretty much structure our entire software hierarchy as a whole. So we pretty much have the whole organization as a whole. We have contractors underneath that, document management, all these kind of things, plus then the drivers, again, document management, all of that. And then we would take the different tasks. In this case, it would be tours, allocate them to the different companies that are on our platform, as well as, and then the organization itself is allocating the driver. So that's pretty much the area in which it goes. We have all the information required from the drivers, also private phone numbers, so in case if the device breaks down or something like that, we can still reach out to them and make sure everything works according to plan. Delivery overview, I think also just the way everyone would expect it to be, progress tracking, overview, data export, of course, is something that we also do. No one is, let's say, perfect in the sense that you can have some technical challenges, and that's why we also, of course, print out the Rollkarte at the beginning, so pretty much your deliveries for the tour, hand them over to the drivers, just to have that fallback option, because if the technology has some issues along the way, we can certainly not sustain our SLA that we have. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah, you can also take a look at this, essentially the overview. And I think all these components together, if you bring it all together, is pretty much the infrastructure that we believe is necessary in order to create a delivery success of 99% across Germany. So, thank you guys.
Thanks, Ben. That was amazing to get an insight of how you deliver, and we see from your delivery quota that it's quite successful. Like before, we start out with the questions. So what do you do when you cannot reach the 99%?
If we cannot reach the 99%.
When you see from your operational control tower here in Oranienstraße that a driver is behind or there's a problem coming up, one thing is to see it, but the other question is how to react on it and to operationally steer it. So what's the calls to actions that you have here?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the issue we are facing, but due to the service that we're providing, we are not shying away from additional costs in order to make this happen. So for one, if we see the delivery quota drop, what we do is we essentially have the driver drive back to revisit one of the drops that he had to do in order to make that happen, make it successful. Rescue tours is another topic. And when I talk about 99% delivery success, I'm not solely saying that it's the consignee receiving the parcel, but it can also be the neighbor.
Ah, the good old neighbor.
The good old neighbor.
The good old
We're
neighbor.
in Germany. In Germany, that's possible.
That's awesome. I mean, we're also doing business in Italy, and it's funny. When I was there the first time, they said, and yeah, how about like a neighbor delivery, and say, Italians don't trust their neighbor. They would never accept this.
Yeah.
So it's a different world.
Definitely.
Different world, same world, but different behavior. Cool. So, Ben, you're open for some questions. We have a couple of minutes. I want to ask you guys online, following us on the live stream, to enter your questions now. And while you do this, I'm ready to pick up a question here from the on-site audience. So anyone wants to pick up a question? I would need a microphone, please. Who had a question?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm interested in how your rescuing works, because I was driving yesterday at Kurfürstendamm and I saw like two DHL trucks like facing each other, and they were like both looking over the engine, and probably something didn't work. So yeah, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So operationally, what it means is that we have additional vehicles on hold at the warehouse. So it does take some time for the rescue to arrive, but essentially then this vehicle would take over the entire tour from that point onwards. We would create a rescue tour in the system. So we would say, okay, I don't know, half of the parcels have been delivered. The remainder is going on an extra tour. And then the new driver can, so to say, take over with the new vehicle, and then the other vehicle can get fixing.
Any other questions here from the audience? Yes, pick it up.
Hi, I have two questions. One of them is, what is your optimization routing engine? So it's not BetterMind, what is it? And the second one is, why are you using Mapbox?
Yeah, so first one is PTV, to make it plain and simple. And the reason to go with Mapbox, I mean, we did a lot of testing. I think there's plenty that would probably recommend Google. I think there's some, yeah, let's say benefits and downsides of it. I think from the experience that we have, also the feedback that we received from the drivers, Mapbox is doing a very solid job. We still use Google for geocoding, so that's another thing. So that's good, but the actual navigation of Mapbox is super reliable. Plus, in terms of costs, it's substantially different to Google, I would put it. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions here from the audience? Could you pick up the microphone on your own, please?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. Yeah, it's always nice to have an app for the drivers. It really supports them in their daily work, but of course for that you also need hardware. So how are you handling the hardware of the whole site?
So you mean the hardware in terms of the phone or the
mobile
device that's being
devices,
used? Yes. Yeah. Frankly speaking, that is not something where I would say we have found the holy grail. It's always challenging. So the thing is that we have built our technology to be Android only for the driver perspective. That poses again some challenges for bring your own device policy, because some users have iOS. Not everyone has Android. On the other hand, if you were to provide the devices yourself, you're again in a pickle, because sometimes not being returned, they're broken, and you have to, let's say, manage the whole inventory of your devices. So I'll be very honest, we haven't found the holy grail here yet. I can tell you that we are testing different models in different regions right now. I think some we can already say are working better than others, that's for sure. And it's also about the type of device that you're using. So for instance, if you are using, let's say, an old or a little bit outdated Android device and you won't have to scan your parcels using your native camera, different ball game as compared to using a Zebra device with a scanning solution adapted to it. Yeah, it makes a big difference. For our technology, it doesn't really. So it identifies whether you're using an Android device or a Zebra device or whatnot, and then you can use either of these options. But essentially, we haven't found the holy grail here yet.
I would pick a question from our online participants. One is asking, how exactly did you include the experience of the driver from Sophie to, I guess, for route optimization and for sometimes they just know better how to do certain things.
Yeah. I'll be very honest. So when we started this company, we were drivers ourselves. That's how we started. And then we are in, I would say, wouldn't necessarily say daily, but at least a couple of times a week we talk with drivers and we do get the feedback. And essentially that's the most important. And that's also concerning me, right? So everyone in the company is talking to the drivers and receives the feedback on how things are going. And I'll be honest, we wouldn't have been made aware of a couple of the issues that we had if we hadn't had the conversation with the guys actually doing the work, what works, what doesn't work. And there's a lot of things that can still be improved. And this is, frankly speaking, it's just a direct dialogue with the drivers, with the personnel, in order to make that happen. But that's also what I said at the very beginning. It's not just, a blunt statement. We are very closely connected to the operations, and that's why we can actually make that product the way it is.
Mm-hmm. I'll pick another question from our live stream visitors. What transportation methods do you have? Vans, e-vans, cargo bikes. So how's your portfolio?
Yeah, so it is, I would say, to the majority, it is vehicles. So we're talking about vans, some cars. That's the primary setup. We have experimented with bicycles, so cargo bikes from Eve and some other providers. And we came to the realization that the volume that we're currently producing is not justifying these kinds of vehicle types at this moment. That's one thing. Plus, of course, it increases the complexity in your delivery, right? So if you're just having one medium of delivery, for instance, a vehicle, car, or van, makes things a lot easier in comparison to having different kinds of modes with different limitations. So that's one thing. When we talk about, instance, like electrification, we're currently looking at a little less than 50% of the fleet for the last mile being electrified, so we're not 100% yet. We're still observing some of the players that do that in order to see how is charging infrastructure developing, and how is, for especially the service, performing during seasons like the ones we're about to face in a couple of weeks. We'll see.
Good. And the last question would be, how about your first mile? It comes from SAP, from company Dropper, I don't know. How do you do a first mile? Your deliveries are all over Germany and you have a late cutoff time for premium deliveries. Then how do you manage the first mile? So pick up from the e-commerce company's warehouse and bring them to your local hubs overnight. Are you using couriers, bigger established logistic companies? How do you solve that?
So actually we're using a lot of partners that are specialized in line haul networks. We are having a combination of trucks, but primarily in order to sustain the speed that we have in our service, it's 3.5-ton vehicles primarily, especially for the customers that are based a little further away, for instance in Poland or something like that, because if you want to provide that particular cutoff, you just need to be quick on the first mile in order to inject in time into your infrastructure and make these things work. But yeah, it's primarily players that have experience that are either logistics companies specialized with a big truck fleet, or some smaller players also with 3.5-ton vehicles, Maxi Sprinter, these kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Ben. Give him a hand. Thanks for the insight. Benjamin, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Do you have the remote? Even if it's not working? Hi, everybody. Thank you, Simon, for the invitation. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tousfacteur, a French-based startup. Voila. That was not what's meant to happen. Okay. And yes, thank you. So our startup was incorporated in 2015. And since the very beginning, we believed that the heart of future of logistics would be massification in city centers. So we decided to work with Pudo networks. Pudo is a big thing in France. because it's a city hub, right? You have parcel and people just come to collect the parcel. So we decided to launch a service of delivery from the parcel shop. And in 2017, we started to work with DHL, a very known carrier that you don't like here, I don't know why. But we learned a lot working with them, and it enabled us to expand our operation in 2018. We opened new cities in France, and to start new partnership in 2019. So we start to work with GLS, of course, in France, and Chronopost, which is one of the prominent players also in France. In 2020, we raised money with an ambition to shift from an operation model to a SaaS model. And it was, doesn't work, okay. Sorry for the beginning, for the people online. And so in 2020, we decided to switch to a SaaS model. TMS is Transportation Management System, the IT that you develop to organize your operation. And we created one product in 2021, Track and Engage, which is a very simple white label tracking page for carriers. So when they are not able to organize or to produce the tracking page themselves, we do that with our technology. We launched a pilot with GLS France in 2021, and in 2022, they decided to acquire our company to scale the model and to use all the products that we have and that we'll see together today. Thank you. So it's not that comfortable to start with a 97% of success, as you were saying, for 20 minutes that you have 99. So the only question I have is, are you speaking the truth or not? We're not in Paris. Yeah. Yeah, always the French guy. So our model is based on city hubs, okay? So we have this city hub in city centers. We gather parcels from carriers. All carriers directly inject these volumes inside our hubs. And then we organize small loops, 2 hours time slot loops. And we only work and rely on bike riders, okay? Why? Because they are not sensitive to traffic and not sensitive to parking. So when you aim to have a time slot and to respect the time slot, it's very important to respect these two conditions. Okay, so we use our own TMS. Today we have 5 hubs, 200 couriers active every day, 100% green, of course, because we only rely on bikes and cargo bikes. And we operate around 500,000 deliveries per day. Okay, so when we started this business, we did as everybody. We started with the consignee because this is the main important part of the value chain, and then we work backwards. So our objective was to organize and to offer the best and the most convenient experience ever. Okay, so this is how it works. Consignee receive a message around 1 hour and a half before the driver reaches his address with a short link inside to access the tracking page. Okay, you can click on this link, access to the tracking page. You do not need to download an app, register, create a password, and so on. It's really smooth experience. Then we say, okay, so we have to offer tracking. So you have the live tracking of the courier. It's the basics over here, but in French it's pretty new. And of course, it improved the experience of the consignee because it allows you to answer to all the questions you ever ask yourself while waiting for your delivery. Do I have the time to go downstairs, or will I miss my delivery? I have a meeting, will I be late? Okay, these kind of things. Then we wanted, beyond tracking, we wanted to offer flexibility, okay? So first, we added the real-time communication with the driver. It's a one-direction communication channel where the consignee can add in real-time instructions for the driver. The entry code has changed. The elevator is not working. My kids are sleeping. Please do not knock at the door. These kind of things, okay? And then we wanted to go beyond, so we add a reschedule feature directly from the tracking page. So meaning that during the tour, you're waiting for your delivery boy, for the driver, and you can say during the tour, okay, I want to change the time slot. It's possible because we are working with only small tours, small loop, you remember, 2 hours. So even if one delivery is canceled, it goes back to the city hub and can go and live in another tour the next round, okay? Very efficient. And for all the customers that experience this feature, it's life-changing, okay? Because you were about to miss your delivery, and then suddenly you have this button that can allow you to change the time slot for the same day or for the next. Then we also have the live support. Live support is when you don't have a solution, when you don't know how to handle things, you can directly click on that button, and it's like in Amazon, when you click, there's someone that calls you and say, okay, how can I help? Okay, so I think that Ben mentioned that, but when it comes to carriers, they always try to hide their phone number, okay, so that you cannot contact them, and you have to handle the situation with the driver, okay, because customer service is it's a huge cost. But things are changing, and I think that we were among the first one to be that change. So we have a very good reviews, and maybe can we just change? Yes. So to do this, we quickly understood that we had to design our own technology, our own TMS. Okay, it's called Proxypic. It enables operation from the very beginning when we receive the parcel up to the delivery. Okay, why? Because when we start to work with prominent carriers, we understood that they were B2B focused. Okay, they had this fair limitation. So it was complicated for us to work with their tool. So there are two limitations. They were B2B focused, and in the meantime, I forgot the other limitation. It comes back later. So just for the B2B part, for instance, when we start to work with carriers in 2017, it was not possible to call the consignee. Okay, so you had the phone, you know, to handle the delivery operation. You had the phone number of the consignee, but you could not make a call. Okay, why? Because when you want to deliver a B2B parcel, then you always have someone at the entrance, okay? It's an office, it's a law firm, I don't know. So you don't think of this kind of feature. Another feature that we had was the, the ability to take pictures. So you have a phone, but you can take picture. But it's mandatory when you want to deliver B2C, okay? Because sometimes you have to drop the parcel following the instruction of the consignee in front of the door. You have to give a proof. So you need to take picture, okay? The other limitation is that in fact, carriers design their tool for them, not for their subcontractors. Okay, so when we started to work, we came to realize that once you had your tool, you cannot make change in the tool. You were stuck with the list that you have at the very beginning. You could not see all the parcel on the map, okay, because it's not something useful to the carriers. So we decided to create our own tools. And these tools, they have all these features that we talk about, photo, phone call, etc. It's very basic feature, in fact. But in fact, we understood that to be a carrier, you have to be a process controller and a data monitor, okay? Because, okay, you have parcel, but most of things, you have all the data to process, to organize, to clean, if you want to be able to notify and to communicate with the consignee. Okay, so we restructure our products around 3 different products. First one, Track. Track is the live tracking page that we offer to all the carriers we are working with. We have different kind of tracking page. And we also have the Engage part. The Engage part is a marketing feature for shipper, because when you have this kind of tracking page, people will spend a long time on the tracking page. What we record in our operation is that people will spend around 13 minutes on the page. Okay, so it's an opportunity to leverage that time and to give back this time to the shipper so that he could display marketing campaigns, okay? And the last one, not the least, the operation layer, okay? Because subcontractors is the forgotten player of the equation, okay? Nobody cares about the subcontractor, okay? Everybody is focused on the consignee. Carriers, they have a very ambiguous relationship with their subcontractor. On the one hand, they need them because they are the one that will operate the delivery. On the other hand, they will keep fighting with them over quality and process management. So it's really hard for a carrier to understand that he needs to create features for the subcontractors. And that's what we did. So carriers focus on consignee rather than on the subcontractor. Why? It's easy to understand. When the consignee complains, he can complain on the social network, social media. It will goes back to the shipper, and then the shipper will complain towards the carrier. Okay, so everybody looks at the consignee, as we did, as I explained earlier. Okay, we started with the consignee. Consignee that do not support the drivers. Okay, when I'm a consignee, and I'm expecting for a delivery, the moment, the precise moment when I will get my parcel is the moment where I have the first touch point with my order. I'm not thinking that, in fact, in my 80 euros order, I paid 4 euros for a delivery, and that parcel has traveled all the country or all Europe within a day. Okay, it's not my concern. I'm just thinking, I want my delivery. I want my parcel. Okay, I want a good experience, and I don't want to pay, of course, because logistics. But maybe we should put it this way. Just a reminder. The challenge of subcontractors is to deliver everyday parcels to people who are not there with half of the information. Okay? They're magicians. Okay? But sometimes sometimes there is another confusion. Consignee thinks that the subcontractor can read his mind to find the entry code or can unlock the door with the force. But subcontractors are not Jedi, okay? They cannot open doors. At Tousfacteur, what we do on a monthly basis, everybody has to go and make a tour to remember what it is to be a subcontractor. Last time, I was making a tour, and I had a consignee on the phone. He told me, okay, so it was a 2 to 4 time window. And he told me, okay, I won't be there before 30 minutes, and I'll be there for 50 minutes. Can you come back? For 4 euros. Okay, so he thinks that you're an executive assistant to the consignee, that you have all day long to organize to deliver the parcel. But you're a butler, like Alfred to Batman. But a 2 euros butler doesn't work. So driver's mission has changed. He needs to remember everything. He needs to be an executive assistant, to respect the process, to handle the data. It doesn't work anymore. So that's why we decided to create new tools for the drivers. Okay? So this is the cockpit. This is the tool that we have, and that is dedicated to bring live support to the subcontractors. Okay? How does it work? I'm a driver, and I'm in front of a door, and I can't make the delivery happen. I will take the app, I'll scan my parcel, and then I'll be asked to specify the kind of difficulty I'm facing. Is it an issue with the address? Is it an issue with the access? Or is it an issue with the consignee, meaning that he doesn't want the parcel, not that I'm fighting with the consignee, okay? So then I'll be able to qualify the difficulty I'm facing, and it will trigger several actions. First, it will automatically trigger an SMS to the consignee saying, okay, I'm your driver, I'm downstairs. This is the difficulty I'm facing. You can contact me on that phone number, or you can click here and find additional solution. When he clicks on that link, he lands on the page on the right-hand side, which is a frame to organize the communication between the consignee and the driver. First, they will share information. The consignee will see what kind of difficulty the driver indicated. Okay, I don't have the entry code. I tried to give you a call, but you never answered. Okay. Then there is a frame for what are the available options right now. Okay, so you have small buttons, and you can say, okay, you can add your entry code. It will automatically trigger a notification on the driver's app, or you can say, I missed my delivery, and then it will trigger a notification to our support center that will automatically call you. Okay, so the objective here is to frame the communication, to frame the action that are available for the consignee. Okay. In the meantime, it will create a ticket in our support, okay, our support team, okay? So first, they'll have access to all the relevant information to solve the case. So what is the position of the driver? What is the position of the missed delivery? What is the sequence of events related to this failed delivery, okay? So the support team has all the information, and they also have action buttons, quickly accessible action button. They can call the consignee, they can call the drivers, they can send notification, they can push SMS. So in the meantime, they have the information and the tool. So it's easier to be an executive assistant to the consignee when you're sitting in your chair with the laptop, the information and the tool, rather than when you're a driver and then you're lost in your truck trying to deliver someone and giving and receiving calls. Okay? This is a very powerful tool. So I have two use cases to explain how we create value after this and how we solve difficulties. So first case is, let's say a driver reaches a consignee's address, he makes the call, and the consignee won't answer. 1 hour later, the consignee will click on the SMS, okay? Because you remember, we send an SMS with a tracking link. It triggers a notification to our support center and say, okay, now you have the attention of the consignee. It opens a pop-up. Do you want to call him right now? So you can make the call to the consignee when he's available to find a solution. What is really important is reactivity. You need to be able to find a solution when you have the contact with the consignee, because this is the consignee that helps you to make the delivery happen. Okay, so this is one delivery that we have. Another use case is very interesting. It's based on the way carriers work. How do they work? They rely on their subcontractors. Remember what I said, they have an ambiguous relationship with them. So they, in fact, the tour becomes more efficient as the driver learns some information on the tour, because he does the same tour every day, okay? So it's a problem, right? Because when the driver is in vacation, the performance decreases. It's a problem for the... So since the very beginning of Tousfacteur, we said, okay, we need to design features that will allow us to maintain our level of performance even when the driver is not there. So what we did, we changed the driver from tour every day so that we have to develop new features. One of them is our learning system. Okay, so let's say I'm in a building, I want to make the delivery, but it doesn't work. I said, okay, I couldn't find the consignee. Then our system will review the past delivery to see if there is, for instance, a concierge. If for the 4 or 5 previous deliveries were made to the concierge, then it triggers a notification. How could you not make the delivery happen while there is someone all day long to get the parcel? And then this notification goes directly to the phone of the driver and also to the support team to check if you can find additional information in the system. Where is the concierge? Because sometimes it's a bit hidden. Okay. So the success of this solution is that we succeed in solving 44% of the tickets that are opened by the drivers during the tour. It's still, we are 97, okay, but it's a good performance, and it helps us to be, which every carrier we are working with, always the best subcontractor. Quality relies on the involvement, the collaboration of all stakeholders. But it also relies on the reactivity of the system, and you cannot make a carrier business as you did before. It's not only about delivering parcel. Now it has also become about processing information and organizing communication between the stakeholders. And that's it.
Thanks, Benjamin. That was really impressive, especially this live problem solving touch point. Just first question from my side, because I'm curious. That very much depends on the phone number, right?
We can also use the email address, but you don't have the same reactivity when it comes to email address. So yes, we need to have the phone numbers. But contrary to Germany, in France, it's pretty usual to call to the consignee. Yeah. And consignee transfer the number.
So that would be a habit that we could definitely import from France. Yes. To have phone numbers with every parcel. I know that's highly problematic, not only in Germany, also from a data protection and privacy point of view, but this would make life a lot easier. Yes. I mean, an app installment on the and signed in consignee would also be great, but I can also start with a phone number. All right, so we're open for questions. We'll pick the first question from the audience here. And again, all participants on the live stream at home in Europe and North America, please type in your questions now. Yeah, whose question? Stefan.
Hi. So just a little question. I used to work a little bit more than 10 years for DPD, which you know is a daughter from the La Poste group, and from that time I know that one of the most, well, depends on how you look at it, say famous or infamous thing in France is the door code system. So is that a challenge for you still today? And how are you working around the issue? On one hand, I'm particularly interested, is it a mandatory field in the order that has to be provided? And I know, I mean, for DPD it was not of a big problem because La Poste has all the codes. So, but you're not La Poste, so I would like to know how you're on one hand working around the issue, and on the other hand, are you learning from it? Because like Simon says, there is a certain aspect of data privacy involved when you're storing data that is personalized.
Yeah, it's a great issue. Now we have a system where you have this kind of card that you will reload every 2 or 3 days, and that will open, I would say, like 50% of the door. So it's easier now. Okay. But we still have this issue around how do we record the entry code, okay? Because how personal is this data? Is this yours? It is one of the building, etc., etc. So if you have the consent of the consignee, you can store the information. If you don't have the consent, there are other ways to store this information, but then you need to provide with guarantees that you will at some point erase them, that you won't sell them, etc., etc. So it's a major concern, but it's something that we managed to deal with.
Very good, thank you.
So any other questions here from the room?
Hi. Yeah, actually, one question, which is maybe leading in the second question. Is your main customer base or your business relationship to carriers or to merchants? So does it mean the carriers feeding in volume to your micro depots, or do you have direct contracts with, I don't know, some retailers? Both. Okay, and then the carriers doing then the pre-sortation for your micro depots, right? Yeah. Okay, but if you say both, what is more? Is it because if you're having connection to the carrier, then is the consumer or the merchant, can they use actually the advantage, or is the advantage then on the last mile and it's more like a surprise that this carrier is now using you, which offers a really cool delivery experience?
It's a good question. In fact, we frame the experience with the carriers. So we have a lot of features in the system. So we can provide very different experience for the consignee. We have like premium customers that pay lots of money, so we offer lots of features for flexibility, etc. And we have also customers that will only pay a small fee, so we don't have all these options that increase the cost. Mm-hmm. So for the carriers, this is how it works. And when we work with retailers or brands, shippers, we offer the best level of experience that we can have.
All right, cool, thank you.
Cool. So I didn't receive any question from remote, so last chance to put it in, and until then, I would pick a question from the audience.
Hi, if I understood correctly, you said that you have around 500,000 deliveries per day. If I
500,000 a year.
A year, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe I said day, but it was a lie.
From here, maybe the angle is not the best. No, but I want to understand in general, how do you handle this amount of requests coming from both your consignees or from the drivers? Because from what I understand, basically, you tend to rely on this communication both from consignees and drivers. So I want to understand, like, what are the numbers in general, and how can you manage to satisfy both the drivers and consignees relying to this?
Thank you. I would say that half of the requests are dealt directly from the consignee to the courier and back. Okay, so in fact, one objective of the technology is also to organize communication between these people, because otherwise, you know, they won't talk to each other, or they won't talk in an efficient way. Because if you're a driver and that your phone rings all day long, you end up by stop answering, right? Then when it comes to the part with the support service, I would say that half of them, so 25%, are handled by the system. It's a learning system. And then we still need to improve on the 25%. But of course, the scalability of the system relies on the fact that we won't hire like thousands of people. So we work on this. To decrease the number of people that we require to answer the question.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, I'll have another one, and then you had a question, right? Mm-hmm. To watch the time, it will unfortunately be the last question. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I have a question about the user nodes. So the nodes that customers are providing during the delivery time. About the customer nodes that they are providing during delivery to the courier. Okay. So how useful are these nodes? Are customers motivated?
Come closer.
Sorry. So are customers motivated in general to provide these nodes? For example, like entrances there or the elevator is not working. Yeah. And are you storing this information for the next deliveries, for the next couriers? And also from the courier's perspective, is this also something that is useful for them? Do you have any like informations? How is it like easier for them to find the customer, to find the apartment using these nodes? Are they using them at all, checking them at all?
So we store this data when they are given by the consignee, and then there are procedures to see how long we keep them, who can access them, and after how long time we erase them, because the objective is not to keep them. And then for the courier part, it's part of the experience, okay? Because if you say, okay, because we also organize a lot of B2C deliveries, so evening deliveries, so the courier, he knows that if the consignee, he puts some information, please knock at the door, for instance, do not give me a call, he knows that he has to respect it, otherwise we'll get a complaint. Okay, so it's a quality management process. So I would say that they tend to respect this instruction, I mean, maybe 95% of the time, but of course sometimes they don't see it.
All right. So thanks, Benjamin. That was really valuable. Thanks a lot. Tim, we're really excited what you're going to show us now. This is different in size. We're talking about 500,000 parcels per year. You're dealing with definitely more than 500,000 per day.
Yes.
The stage is yours.
Is the microphone working? Perfect. So yeah, my name is Tim Schmidt, working for the GLS organization in Germany. My role is all about designing processes, first mile, last mile, depot sortation, and a number of operational digitalization tools. So I want to take you on a little journey today that I called From Subcontractor to Partner. So as GLS, as Simon correctly said in the very beginning, we go a long way back, and we are an operational company pretty much focused on operations, on quality, on productivity. And with the digitalization, we embarked on sort of a journey where one of the key players is our subcontractor. But first of all, I give you a couple of numbers what GLS is about. Yeah, so this is really correctly +1 million parcels a day in Germany. Actually, today it has been significantly more. So in the peak seasons, above that. We serve both B2C and B2B customers in the parcel business. So it's round about half of our stops are to-C stops. Our network comprises of +70 depot locations within Germany that then deliver those 1 million parcels a day. So it's quite a substantial network that we are running. And now we're coming to one of the key peer groups in there, which is 400+ transport partners that run the first mile, last mile transportation for us. So as GLS organization, we don't have our own couriers and drivers. Everything goes via our transport partners. And the journey I'm talking about is all about them today. Because those partners then essentially employ those plus 6,000 delivery drivers, plus 6,000 vans that deliver your parcels every day. And in the very past, we have focused quite a lot on what we do for our drivers on the last mile. We have developed substantial tools in terms of hand scanners, navigation, and so on. But we missed out a little bit on our transport partners. And those are the guys who are actually responsible to manage the performance of those drivers in the end. So this is the journey I'm going to take you on. And first of all, let's look into what is this transport partner market all about currently. First of all, we have a number of challenges in terms of finding trained and skilled staff. We have cost increase, we have minimum wage increases, we have diesel cost increases, general inflation, sustainability requirements. Of course, we as GLS, we drive also the electrification of the fleet. So our transport partners have to learn a lot about electrification, how to deal with the cars, how to deal with charging infrastructure, and so on. Also, our transport partners have to deal with volatility and disruptions in supply chains. So, I mean, I don't have to go into too much detail. Seasonality has increased, especially with the increased share of 2C in the business. We have COVID, we had the war in Ukraine, supply chain failures. So when I started a number of years ago, I could actually predict you the amount of parcels that we would transport the next day, pretty much about 1% I would be off maximum. So now, and I could do this for months in advance because it was pretty steady what it was in seasonality and weekly volumes. Now we have real issues to predict the next 3 weeks. So there's a lot of change in what we require our transport partners to cover. We have the private consumer market, heard a lot today about what the requirements are. So this is a change that we have to go through together with our transport partners. And now I give you a little insight on how we traditionally communicated to those partners. So there's a big head office here in the GLS organization. Let's say they invent a new product, a new process, or we have, in COVID times, we had to quickly change a number of processes. Then there's some collateral prepared, some emails, some whatever to just be pushed out to our 70 depots. Those depots would have their individual contacts to the subcontractors and try to somehow bring the new processes out to them. And in the last couple of years, the frequency in that we have these changes in the organization, changes to processes, has increased. And we're pushing down all this information to a number of subcontractors. It's pretty difficult to have those guys to keep up with us to the speed of change and to really have everything for their business they need in terms of process knowledge that we want to share with them. Secondly, traditional performance management, pretty much paper-based in the history. So what we did is we have a huge number of KPIs and performance indicators that we would collect daily, print out, stack into some paper stacks, and then share with our transport partners and maybe go through with it. Otherwise, we just hand over paper and say, like, here, this is your performance numbers. Maybe next time you're going to tell your driver to do it better. You can see we have been talking about 400 plus partners, 6,000 delivery drivers daily. That won't work very long, especially in times where we have to change our business pretty quickly. So this is why we embarked on this digital partnership journey. And there's the first thing that we developed exclusively for our transport partners, which we call the so-called Partner Hub. The Partner Hub is supposed to be the one-stop shop for our partners. So in this Partner Hub, in the future, there will be everything from your contract management to the training material that you need, to all the operational handbooks, to all the resources that a transport partner needs from us. Here you see a little extract from that, a screenshot from the Partner Hub, and I'm going to lead you through a couple of the tools that we offer. But first of all, how this entire thing works. There's a menu section with a number of tiles with tools you can access. I dig into that a little bit deeper. There's a news section, like a timeline, like in Facebook, where we can just publish ad hoc news, where we can have some fun stuff in there, when we can publish training material, new processes, and so on. And a chat function where we want to channel all the communication between our depots and the transport partners. So what we have here is our possibility to have at one click an information being available and being pushed out to our 400 plus transport partners. Going a little bit more into details, the GLS cockpit I'm going to show you a little bit more later. Benjamin, we used the same name for a different tool, just by coincidence. We have links to sites where our transport partners have to pre-qualify, where they have to submit documents to make sure that they pay their social welfare contributions. We have the entire Better Mile. We're using the Better Mile product suite, so the Better Mile back office for administration and details about the Better Mile in here. We have rental vehicle conditions in here. We have charging station maps. We have a couple of processes behind it, like I will show you this uniform reordering processes. We have training material, very important. So in the past, pushing out training material was an email or some printouts, and we all know 2 weeks after you send it out, nobody finds it anymore, so it's going lost. Here you have one place with all the resources that the partner needs. Also some fun stuff in there. There's a delivery playlist. It's all songs about driving your car, being on the road, and so on. We have, as of tomorrow, an advent calendar with a couple of quiz and lottery in there, so just engaging the community. Showing you a couple of details, for example, imagine 6,000 couriers every morning in production, and every one of them, or many of them, are saying like, hey, I need a new uniform t-shirt, I need a polo, I need safety shoes, whatever. Somebody writing all this down, trying to remember, and later on to somehow fulfill all these orders. Now we have embedded just an order management for this, transport partner orders. We have it electronically, fulfill it, done. The training materials we have embedded in there, so there's a suite of videos or training collateral for our partners to forward to their drivers and to support them to train the drivers. And I talked about the news feed. This is something where we have from useful information, general advices. It can be something that only happens in one depot. It can be something that we push into the entire usership of this. So it can be only depot news, like here you have the new safety shoes available, guys. So now you can reorder again. So all this information that has been distributed very unstructured in the past is now easily in one place. This is what in general this portal is about, and as I said, it will be growing in the future. And we started this entire journey 1 year ago, and we are fully live since 2 months. And there will be features added more or less monthly to this. One of the important features in there is what we call the GLS cockpit. It's also something for our partners. And I've told you before how our traditional performance management would look like. So as a transport partner for GLS, how does it look like for you? So maybe you talk to 1 or 2 of your drivers, but many of them employ like 10, 15 drivers. And next morning you arrive at the GLS depot and someone tells you, this is your complaints, this is where your performance didn't work out properly, and so on. This is not really a partnership approach, because it's always like asymmetric information. And what we thought is like, we want them to be able to manage their business before we manage them. And this is what we do with this cockpit. So our partners have all the relevant performance information for all their vehicles here. at hand, any time. They can dig into all the details they need. There's a little comment function, because what we found from the users, it's very important to have some sort of a workflow behind it, like, okay, there was an issue with one of the parcels, there was an issue with one of the consignees, so what are we going to do? So you can add comments in there and say like, okay, please pick up the parcel and bring it to the right consignee, and then somebody confirms it. So there is a communication within this tool as well. We have just a sample in here, and actually we can improve the UX a little bit, but you have the performance per tour on delivery quota, and yes, I agree, some of them are below 99%, but they are okay. We have the collections, we have process issues, we have customer complaints that came in. For us, it's very important that the customer complaints are really dealt with. And wherever you see one of those little red numbers, you can dive deeper to see like the specific parcel where you had an issue, for example. Here's another sample screen where you have, for example, one of the complaints with all the details. And again, you can add a comment to that. Okay, I'm going to pick up the parcel tomorrow and correct this. You have performance overview of the past weeks in there. So it's not only a one-day snapshot, but also developments. You can benchmark against the depot, against the one tour, against the entire subcontractor tours. So a couple of benchmarks in there to see your performance. Further elements in there are, because it's not all about the delivery quota for a subcontractor, it's also about how was the utilization of my cars, my vans. So how many parcels, how many stops, what is the to B to C quota in there, how's the productivity of what I'm doing right now. So this is something we offer as well. And we are also adding functionality to this more and more. So one thing that we already launched is we have a live production view in the inbound production in the morning. So while parcels arrive at the depot, you can live follow, okay, for this tour, it's already 100 parcels in here. 90 of them have been scanned by the driver to the manifest. 10 are still open. 2 of them are high-value parcels. So this is something where you can fully control your loading process in the morning if you do that correctly. And then there's a learning curve we had to go through. So looking at this, the original idea was, okay, we have this tablet PC where you have all the numbers, and our driver support has one and maybe shares with a transport partner. And then we found out our transport partners don't have tablet PCs. They don't like tablet PCs, and they're not working from home at a large screen. They need something on a smartphone. So next step is within the next couple of weeks, we transfer the entire GLS cockpit to a smartphone view. So you will have, wherever our subcontractors are on the road, because some of them are delivering themselves, you can have a quick check on the quality figures, on complaints, and so on. So this is, let's say, a mobile performance management opportunity. Summarizing all of that, our digital partnership approach is pretty much about, first of all, we want to have a consistent real-time communication with a large number of partners. And also a feedback loop, because of course in this GLS Partner Hub, you can comment, you can like, you can send messages back. So we also get a feedback on what's going on out there. Then the second thing is providing performance transparency, bringing partners on eye level. Not like us being the ones knowing everything about the performance and teaching them how to do it better. Rather, our partners knowing everything about their performance before we know it. It's all about, in the end, creating benefit for transport partners, because they are key players in our entire value chain, and making GLS as a partner for them easy to work with. So overall, in the end, this is about making our partners more successful in their business with us. Now, I said we are 2 months down the road, and we did a little survey with our transport partners. I think we got some nice feedback, so overall satisfaction is very high. Value add is perceived. We have challenges, I have to agree, where we have to improve. It's about the direct communication. Has it really improved? And only half of our transport partners agree with that so far. So they see the general value, but our depots, our direct contacts with the transport partners have to improve their conversation with it and use the tool more. This is something we're going to work on in the next couple of months to get this going. And yeah, this was our little journey on engaging our transport partners and making them more successful. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. That was impressive. I mean, also in terms of how many subcontractors you have to deal with. How long have you been out there with this dashboard or tool set?
So we have released mid of September. Mm-hmm. So we have piloted, of course, in a couple of depots with a couple of users since May. And the real rollout, full-fledged, was mid of September. So we are still like in the warm-up phase, having a lot of learnings and improving.
I guess there might also be a little bit different of what kind of subcontractor is using it. I mean, some are more, have just joined GLS or partner with GLS. Others have been there for the last 20 years. And how do you see the differences here?
It's the same.
Usage or feedback.
It's the same with our own employees. Some of them simply embrace the new possibilities we offer to them, and some of them take a little longer because they are used to certain ways. So just a little example, a lot of the communication in the past has been done via WhatsApp, for example. So now bring everyone onto this, on this portal, will take us a little while. But I think it's simply the more value we add on this portal, the more user we have.
Yeah, you have to beat WhatsApp. If it would be Twitter, it would be a little bit easier these days. Yeah, so I'm ready to take some questions from the audience. The first question from the audience, and then also please our guests online, put in your questions now. Ben.
So my question would be concerning multi-languaging, right? Mm-hmm. So there's usually some topics. We experience the same thing with different languages, different language levels, skills. And that's why we pretty much took the turn to do multi-languaging, especially for training. That's the key thing. And maybe your experience on that, how you approach it, and how many language training material is already available. This.
Fair point. So this is always one of the critical points to reach as many people as possible. So first of all, the tool that we built this Partner Hub on automatically translates into your browser language. So when you're logged in English, you will have it in English. If you're logged in Turkish, you will have it in Turkish. So all the news and so on will be multi-language anyway. With training material, we run from time to time a statistic what language requirements we have. And we normally have currently 9 languages. So for videos, it has been pretty tough because you can't have a voiceover redone every time you have a little change. So they are translated everything with subtitles in those 9 languages. So when you log into the training section, you simply select your language, and then you have the videos in the right language. And actually, yeah, there's additional language requests coming in every other day. So we will have to increase that as well.
Any other question from on-site? Any questions from the back? Also from remote, I don't see any questions popping up on my tablet. Yeah, then I think it's a good time for a short wrap-up. wrap up, if I would ask, all speakers just to join me to grab a stool here. Yeah, so maybe let's just draw a summary from us here and ask the question, what we've seen today, is there, like, from your perspective as the experts, like a common theme where you say, this is to get operations under control, to build like your, the control tower of a delivery company? Is there like a common theme in there, what we've seen today? Like, Tim, from your perspective.
I think, to my mind, the common theme is that we all took an outside-in perspective. So traditionally, you would be saying, like, this is what I want to do, and you measure along the process what you do. And I think what I heard from all of us is pretty much, let's look into our customers' requirements. In my case, it was more like the subcontractors, end customers, couriers. So starting the journey from there backwards, and then saying, let's design something that suits their needs. I think this is, to my mind, pretty much a common theme of what we heard today.
So what you're saying, it's not that classic customer approach or customer centricity, it's rather the user centricity of the one who's actually using the tool. Might be a driver, might be a subcontractor, and might be also personnel in the depot.
The user is the customer for what we do, yeah.
So Ben, from your point of view and your perspective, and you saw the other delivery companies, how they approach things. How did you find it? Did you see like a common theme here where you also find yourself in?
I think the aspects that we've seen today, very different, different focus point. But I think the common thing is that this is a challenge for all of us. Right? It's the same challenges that we're facing. We're right now just putting priorities on particular issues that all of us have. And the question is, what priority to set, what priority to go forward with, especially for a big player like GLS. Of course, partner management is a huge topic. It's tremendously bigger compared to us. Topic of delivery, success, and having the clarity of getting to those customers. Of course, it's very important as well. And in the end, it's a combination. So the ideal tool probably will encompass all of these aspects. But I think it's all about the priority and then finding yourself in the right situation and then setting the target or the differentiation in your current state on what really creates the biggest value.
Yeah, like from your French point of view and Parisian point of view, of course, it is the door codes. Here it is the partner management. So it's like a shift of priorities. And I mean, probably it's also like an aspect of delivery companies. They just need to solve the problem that they have right now to survive the next day, isn't it?
Yes. The common theme I see is IT and data processing, okay? When I see your presentation, Ben, I only see like as if you were designing the app everybody wants. Okay, so we work on an app. We have a good app also. Okay, when it's 97, I understood. Okay, but still, it's all about IT, and I'm very happy to hear, Tim, that the relationship to subcontractors is evolving, because in the end, this is the objective, to work together to make it happen and to make the delivery happen. So it's a good decision.
And maybe also I can hand in some questions that just arrived from remotely for Tim. How can partners access the portal if they do not have a tablet? If they do not have a tablet?
So the portal is accessible. The portal itself is accessible on your desktop, on your smartphone, and so on. The only thing that isn't accessible so far on your smartphone is the cockpit, the KPI tool within it, because it has been built more on like a table-like style, and this is something we have to rebuild. But in general, when you become a partner for GLS, you get your login data, you can log in from every PC you want, you can log in from your smartphone, yeah.
Any thoughts about also including the drivers in the future? That was also, I mean, that's a very interesting question, I think, but also it was from one of our remote guests asked.
Actually, there is for several reasons. We don't think that the drivers will be the core target group for this portal. We will need more interaction with the drivers, but maybe on a different basis. So first of all, it's our subcontractors which are responsible to manage the performance of the drivers. Especially in Germany, that's also a legal issue. So, but nevertheless, we are doing both. We are also improving the tools, which is more or less the hand scanner, where we communicate with the driver himself. And there will be some performance feedback and so on as well. But having the general news and materials, we will rather focus on the subcontractors.
So, coming to the next topic, Ben, I mean, you're fighting this every day, right? I mean, you're just delivering the parcels of the Black Week. So
starting on Saturday.
It's not a party; it's a fight at some point. But and we also said delivery companies tend to build and control the processes also with digital tools where they really feel the pain and they need to do it now, right? Most of the problems you probably have already solved that you came across, but like looking forward to the next 6 to 12 months, what is like the major topics where you think this is something that we or also delivery in like operational control tools in general will have to solve? Is there like a big theme that where you can say, this is where we're heading to?
I think the whole topic of customer communication, I think that's a critical thing. I think communication in general, I think you drew a picture, but you also drew a good picture in terms of it's a stakeholder map that you need to service. And I think getting this communication streamlined, getting away from WhatsApp, getting away from all the other things and getting a standard in there, also taking into account the whole topic of multi-languaging and these kinds of things. I think that's going to be the crucial aspect. Once you have that topic solved, you can solve many of the operational issues that you're facing.
Benjamin, would you share this? Is communication the key?
Yeah, I think really it's the key, because if the consignee is involved in the process, then it's easy to make the delivery happen. And you also have to involve the subcontractor, because he's the one standing for your brand in the truck all day long. So it's all about communication. Yeah, make it efficient and quick.
So also maybe getting a little bit more in the technology discussion here. Communication, and I'm just looking at some engineers that are around here, is probably one of the most complex things that are around. Also from a technological perspective, but also then later from an operational perspective. Ben, you intentionally built a proprietary software for you because you try to solve your problems, and you really lift the pain and then and build the solutions on it. Will you be able, for this communication topic, also to build it on your own, or at which point do you reach also not just communication, all other aspects where you say proprietary, yes, but only to a certain extent. Now we do not all of us have to solve the same problem. Maybe there are some tools around that that can be generally used.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the whole topic in technology, you will need to have a sufficient stack in your own hands that you can influence and that you can change and adapt. Especially if some customer requirements change, you need to be able to adapt it. If you're relying upon a third party to help you out there, it takes ages, it's expensive, and really doesn't give you the right value. But there's couple of aspects. So we pretty much built our services that we have a core and that we have some agents for the respective customers, but also we have some aspects where we see microservices, so to say, that we've integrated into our system. Some of them that we will not develop ourselves because it's not our core in that regard, which is from the one hand side is the routing. So if we were to indulge in routing, we wouldn't do anything else but build a routing system, and it probably wouldn't be as good as the one that are available on the market. Same goes for in-app navigation and these kinds of systems. However, I think from what we talked about today also is that these things are, I would say, common standard in the industry by now. Some better, some worse, you know. But in the end, it's other aspects that are on top of that, the layer on top, that is really creating that differentiation, which, for instance, is communication. And to answer your question concerning whether or not we would build it ourselves, we would be very diligent in which areas we would introduce it, to what extent we would introduce it, and then potentially also see, okay, what are other solutions in the market space that we could properly integrate. I think there's nothing wrong with integrating things, but you need to have a proper interface, because from what we can see in the, let's say, German tech landscape especially, there's a lot of, you know, plug-in solutions that are maybe working at a small scale, but if you really want to scale a business, and I don't know, not stay with the delivery numbers that I just showed, but I don't know, 10 times, something like that, well, it looks very different. And that's why you need to have the infrastructure in place, and then you can decide, okay, where are we going to put the focus on?
I mean, that's also what we see. Every delivery company, even if it's just different country organizations of one delivery company, they have their own operational processes, their own business logic, the dedicated behavior of consignees in these dedicated countries. So you cannot have a one-size-fits-all solution. You need to, like the top layer at least, has to be owned by the delivery companies in order to make it usable, right? Tim, I mean, what we saw from you from the dashboard, this looked like an app store, right? So you're already using different tools. If you could make a wish for one additional app in there, what would it be?
Oh God, I have so many wishes in there. That's a good question. I would like to have something that translates consignee feedback directly into an information to our partners. So have a quicker response loop, feedback loop on how delivery performance was in perception of the consignee. Because as you said in the very beginning, many companies are still measuring a lot about what is our runtime for parcel. Did we deliver on time? And I would like to have much more of the feedback that we gain via digital channels directly channeled into this tool. So this would be my wish for the time being.
I would share this wish. Benjamin, I mean, you are in this terms of one of those future topics, communication with the consignee. You are from what I saw, the most advanced here in direct contact with the consignees. I mean, communication is one thing, but bring this into operations, you probably have some learnings. Do you see, like, at scaling, when you bring this to a certain scale, let's say about like 1 million parcels per day, and you know, with the respect to the conversion rates that you mentioned, and also the effort that has to go through, some of the requests can be answered automatically, others will be drawn to the support and call center. Would this even be feasible, or will this stay a premium phenomenon?
I think there is a lot of automation to operate there. Each time we have the time to focus on that matter, we succeed in reducing the human intervention. Coming back to communication, we always have this question. We're using WhatsApp to communicate sometimes with the courier. We have our in-house communication system, but in the meantime, we also use WhatsApp because it's very efficient. So we don't want to copy WhatsApp, okay? It's very efficient, so we don't need to, but still, we wish we could avoid to use an external system because it's conversation, privacy issues, etc., etc. So it's always, I would say, make or buy. Okay, can you make it easily, or can you just pick like the solution to market? Example for the mapping system. Okay, so here Google, they are so good. You won't try to map the hearse because it's expensive. Okay, you just use the solution because it's convenient. And you just have to make it enter into your business model.
The people from here really like this, who are present today, that you said that. Yeah, so I just want to make a point here because now the very important part starts, like the communication in between you guys, the networking, and it will be exciting. But first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming in, for flying in, and share your presentations, to share your ideas, and that was really valuable. I want to thank you again all for coming in and making this a success that we should definitely continue. Let's remind ourselves we are working on the same challenges here, and let's learn from e-commerce, let's learn from the tech sphere. We know all at some aspects we're competitors, but at some aspects it all will make just sense to cooperate and share some insights, and at some points maybe develop together on the same tools. For example, when we talk about communication, what about the intercom of parcel delivery in the future? Maybe that's a topic for the founders here who want to grab up something. Thanks everyone for coming. Last thing, please follow Better Mile on LinkedIn. You will receive all the information there for our next meetup. We want to do this regularly, maybe every 2 or 3 months, and focus on other topics. This time it was operational control. Next time we'll pick another topic that will be very valuable for you guys. So sign up and follow us on LinkedIn. Sign up for our newsletter on bettermile.com. Thanks everyone for coming. Now we'll start the music, restart the fridge, and for all remotely joining guests, pour in a glass of wine and enjoy us remotely. And see you next time. Thanks, everyone.